And good morning. Guess who hasn't got to do a rant video lately? But it's not all ranting this time. But, okay. Now, I've been broke pretty much my whole life. Don't have a lot of disposable income. All my disposable income is here in records and whatnot. So, but aside from, no more, I'm trying to not buy, like, oh, that's $1. Why wouldn't I buy that for $1? Here's another Motown compilation, that I have a million versions of all. Yeah, or wow, Chicago Blues. I need another version of Manish Boy. No, that's all cut out now, just because. But, you know, I had this discussion with someone recently, and I've had it a million times. Oh, well, with inflation, records are not as, it's comparable to what. That's bullshit. I'm talking about the real world, not inflation, whatever. Here's the deal. New records, you're talking $30. For the most part, they're $30. You're hard pressed to find some. And, the more hipster, Florence's Machine or whatever the fuck, those are 30, $35. Forget it, I bought this new one recently. The Raining Sound, one of the greatest rock and roll bands going at this point, They don't sell millions, This record was $18, brand new, That's a decent price nowadays, you know what I mean? But here's the deal. When I was younger, Rolling Stone Records, I grew up like 3 blocks from there. If I made minimum wage, let's say $8, let's say I made $8 an hour. You could go to Rolling Stone and they would have 2 bins of new releases every week, whatever came out, most of them were in this bin, $3.99, $4.99. Yes, the list price was $10 or whatever. They never sold for $10. You could get whatever you wanted, you know what I mean? So so minimum wage then would buy you 1.5 to 2 brand new records, right? That's $18, Well, what's minimum wage? What about $15 an hour or whatever? So you could buy less than one. You know what I mean? And that's the reality. Records are not on sale anymore, especially new releases. They're not on sale. That's the price. Okay, so there's that. I understand records are a little more expensive now, and by not buying this one for 3, this one for 5, they don't even really care about that much. So, it's like, okay, I can afford, to grab something cool. And recently, then we're talking like 2 months of shopping, which most people could spend this much amount of money in a day. So, but yeah, there's still, still the dollar, like, got this, soundtrack to Wildcat, Lucille Ball. It's a great musical, or something like this. Blue Moon. You might have heard Just Blue Moon by the Marcells, but, decent songs on here. It's a great vocal album. They're a great group, and look at that. Early integrated group, groundbreaking and shit. Okay. So, a couple weeks ago, my friend Scott and Kim at Pinwheel Records, shout out, my great friends, they just recently fully opened their store again, last year. We're not even going to bother with that, but you wanna do your part, So I went, I was gonna do my part, and since, like I said, a little more money to play with, whatever, just recently. So one thing you can do is right wrongs. And speaking of Rolling Stone, I saw this bootleg for so many years, Badfinger. It's a double album of outtakes and things like that, and it's a double album, but it's really only like 3 sides, because the last side is bullshit Joey Molland Badfinger, which forget that shit, and then it's like really badly recorded too, which is perfect because he sucks. But cool stuff. And I saw this for so many years, and I never bought it. It was so expensive. Blah blah blah. And it's just like the old days. You try to track these songs down because there's no liner notes or anything. And a lot of them are from the Warner Brothers last couple albums, which are great. They're great records. But it was cool, just like the old days. So you write a little rhyme there. And I happened to go. It was the first. If you're not into Record Store Day, it used to be one day where 1 million people. Well, now they spread it into 3 different weekends, which, yeah, they say it's so, safety, but it's just so they could grab your money 3 different times, And there was nothing really I wanted, past couple of years, whatever. But I figure, you go there, whatever. And I did buy something that I wouldn't have bought otherwise. But, he's a friend. And this Replacements Outtakes album from Pleased to Meet Me. And I mean, if it was just some record, but this is, one of the great, it's not even their greatest record, that would be Tim, but, one of their greatest records. And at least there's half the songs on here I never heard, I don't have. The other half are from a compilation that came out on CD. But it's kind of cool listening to it like this, And, this started the Paul Westerberg hubris, but if they would have included the song by Chris and the song by Tommy that are on this, if they would have included that on the regular album, I could even tell you what song should be taken off there. Shootin' Dirty Pool and Red Red Wine. And then they could have replaced it with Chris Mars' song and Tommy's song, and the album would have been, even better. But what are you going to do? Got it now, right? There was another one that I did kind of want. Again, I probably wouldn't have bought it, but he didn't have it. But Reckless did. Of course, Reckless has everything. And it's the Bucket Full of Brains, Flamin' Groovies. I probably have most of these songs scattered on other things. But, yeah, this is as good as it gets with them, man. This is good shit. You know what I mean? And, yeah, Shake Some Action twice. They did a speed correct because the single version is slightly sped up, but this does have the speed corrected version, which is really cool. I can't get used to it, but cool to hear it like that anyway. All right, so let's get right to these two. This is the Ann Arbor Blues Fest, 1969, legendary show. I mean, a lot of these guys, it's got everybody, man. Howlin' Wolf, Muddy, Otis Rush, Clifton Chenier, B.B. King, Mississippi Fred McDowell, Pine Top Perkins, Roosevelt Sykes. I mean, and a lot of these guys, they were pretty up there at that point, still on their game. And they said in the notes and the pictures, you could tell it was like a big reunion. All these guys, they're on the road all the time. They don't see each other, old friends, blah blah blah. Really, really cool. And the guys that did the show kind of did field recordings of recording what they could, and they wound up getting enough stuff, so they put these albums out. Actually, Third Man, Mr. Jack White, which is why it's a double album, but $35, right? So my buddy Scott had this, and I was like, oh wow, cool. So when I got home to listen to it and was looking through the booklet, there's all kinds of names in here that aren't on this record. I'm like, where is Son House? Where is John Lee Hooker and everything? Turns out, I didn't even notice. It says on the spine, Volume 1. There's Volume 2. There you go. And it, soaks up, excuse me, the rest of them. Charlie Musselwhite, Magic Sam, Big Mama Thornton, Big Joe Williams, Sam Lay, and it ends with Son House, Death Letter. He was way up there at that point. But yeah, pretty great stuff, But, these records back... I mean, you're talking quite a layout to get the 2 volumes. I didn't even know there was Volume 2. I got this at Lori's, my favorite shop. And the guy's like, you're lucky to get that because they're out of print now. So, I would have been, you can't have Volume 1 and not Volume 2. It just doesn't work that way, So, yeah, there's that. And like I said, you hate spending that kind of money on on one but then it's like, well, you bought 3 records for $10, sometime. And yeah, you wanted them, but this is great stuff. And so you forego the other stuff and do this. That's fine, I mean, I'm always going on and on about how cheap everything is. I get this stuff cheap. But, sometimes you just got to throw in the towel. And we will end this with the biggest of the throwing in of the towels. I don't know who's familiar with this. It's probably like one of the most hipster record geek records ever. Jim Sullivan, UFO. I don't know. He's just a singer-songwriter, never very successful. But the big story, which I won't, get all into, go look him up. But he disappeared. He drove off from California, aiming to go to Tennessee to do sessions and to try to make it that way. And he recorded this weird album about, a lot of the songs are about UFOs and, other things happening. And yeah, he drives out, calls his wife from the desert, saying he's okay. That was it. Weeks later, they found his car, all his identification was in there, his guitar was in there, some tapes, everything. He's gone. They never found him. They don't know what happened. There's a couple of theories, but they never found him. Not a trace. Not a trace. So, again, that's a great story, and the record is out. It just came, it was never on a private label. You can never get a real copy anyway, so they go on and on. And, so now it's reissued. What does that say? 2019? And, a record I always wanted. And it's from that company, which I never fail to rag on, called Vinyl Me Please. Like, it's one of those, they're curated, which is like run screaming when you hear curated, anything. And they kind of, it's like a subscription or something. They send you records you didn't ask for. You'll like it, or whatever. It's just ridiculous. And it's ridiculously expensive, okay? But I found this used, but it's from the record club. And, so I'm like, okay, maybe it's not, okay, maybe whatever, it's expensive, fuck it, I want this record. But, they did manage, never fails, this company to piss me off. Because, okay, this little thing comes on the record, and then, here, they add this. This is like a drink recipe. So I guess it's really complicated too, man. Sierra Branca, Ferme Branca, what the fuck is that? Sesame seeds? You put sesame seeds in a drink? This is insane. Anyway, so you apparently you make the drink and you pair it with this record. You know what I mean? So yeah. Thanks, guys. I knew I was right. Fuck you. All right. So anyway, I'm not gonna make the drink. The record is fucking great. It's good on its own. I got beer in the fridge. I think that'll be fine, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, this is kind of a confession of a cheap-ass record collector, always going on and on about how cheap they get records, So sometimes, you spend the money. Don't be such a fucking baby about it, you know what I mean? Don't be complaining all the time. And now I'm complaining about complaining. I am self-aware, if nothing else. So, that's it. I got some good tunes to listen to.